Now for this first part, we're asked to express 5 all divided by x minus 1 times 3x plus 2 in partial fractions. Now I'm assuming that you're familiar with partial fractions. If not, you can go on my website and look for tutorials on this. But what we have here is 2 linear factors. And whenever you get linear factors, you expect to get partial fractions of the type a constant, all divided by this factor here, x minus 1. And then because this is a linear factor, 3x plus 2, you expect to get another constant, which I'll call b, say, all over this factor, 3x plus 2. And really we should say let this fraction be identical to this. Okay, so we've got to work out what a and b are. So we do this by timesing both sides by the denominator here, x minus 1 times 3x plus 2. So if we do that, if we times both sides by that denominator, on the left we would just be left with 5. And this would be identical to, well, when we take this fraction and multiply it by x minus 1 times 3x plus 2, the x minus 1 gets cancelled and you're left with a multiplied by 3x plus 2. And when we come on to this term here, this fraction, multiply it by x minus 1, 3x plus 2, this time the 3x plus 2 gets cancelled with this one and you're just left with b times x minus 1. Now we need to work out a and b, and we can do this by making either this bracket 0 or this bracket 0. And if we were to make this bracket 0, we would let x equal minus 2/3. So when x equals minus 2/3, we end up with 5 here equaling, well, this bracket goes to 0, so a times 0 is 0, but when we're over here, minus 2/3 minus another one is minus 5/3. So you've got minus 5/3 multiplied by b. And what we can do here is multiply both sides by 3, and that will give us 15 equals minus 5b. And if we divide both sides by minus 5, we end up with b equaling minus 3. Now we need to work out the other constant a, and to work out a, we just make this bracket this time equal to 0. So that would be when x is 1. So when x is 1, what we have is that 5 this time will equal, well, put 1 in here, you've got 3 plus 2, which is 5. 5 times a is 5a. And as for this one, well, 1 take away 1 is 0. And b times 0 just means it's 0. So we've got 5 equals 5a. And if we divide both sides now by 5, you end up with a equaling 1. So we've got our 2 constants now. So in summary, we can say that 5 divided then by x minus 1 multiplied by 3x plus 2 becomes identical then to a over x minus 1, which is 1 over x minus 1. And be careful here, don't just rush in and write a plus because we've got a plus here. Always check to see what your next constant is, because in this example it's minus 3, so that just saves you crossing the plus out. You just get minus 3 over the 3x plus 2. And there you go. There's the partial fractions then for 5 all over x minus 1, 3x plus 2. Now, as I said earlier, if you're unsure about partial fractions, just go on my website and look under your module that you're taking or in the general index for partial fractions, and you'll see how to do these and other types as well. Okay?